All right, today we're going to dive into the invisible gatekeeper that makes all life, including yours, possible. We're talking about the cell membrane. It's the ultimate unsung hero, and it's hard at work inside every single one of your trillions of cells, right this very second. So, think about it this way. Every single cell in your body is like its own little bustling city. Well, the cell membrane? That's its border control, its security fence, and its communication tower, all rolled into one. It's the ultimate gatekeeper, surrounding the city, protecting it, and deciding exactly who gets in and who gets turned away. I mean, that begs the question, right? How can a barrier that's so unbelievably thin be so intelligent? What's the secret to how it pulls off such a complex and vital job? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so job number one for the membrane is pretty simple. It has to define the boundary. It's this thin, flexible layer that wraps around the whole cell, separating the organized world inside from all the chaos outside. You can picture it like a living fence, holding in all the cell's precious machinery and literally marking the edge of life itself. Now, when you hear fence, you probably picture a simple wall, but this thing is way more sophisticated. It's not some solid sheet. It's actually a dynamic structure made up of millions and millions of tiny molecules all working together perfectly. The basic framework, the skeleton of this whole thing, is called the phospholipid bilayer. I know, it sounds super scientific, but the idea is actually beautiful. Bilayer just means two layers, and these two layers are made of fat-based molecules called phospholipids. Simple as that. Okay, now here's where it gets really clever. Each one of those little phospholipid molecules has a head that loves water and two tails that absolutely hate it. And since our cells are floating around in a watery environment, these molecules just instinctively snap into formation. The water-loving heads point outwards towards all the water, while the water-hating tails tuck themselves away in the middle, creating this waterproof core. And this is just a beautiful example of how structure creates function in nature. This automatic arrangement creates a flexible, but still very stable oily barrier. And what that means is that most things dissolved in water just get stopped in their tracks. They can't get through it. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's incredibly effective. And you want to talk about scale? Get this. This critical barrier we're talking about is only about 5 nanometers thick. To put that into perspective for you, a single sheet of paper is 100,000 nanometers thick. I mean, that's just mind-bogglingly small. This is molecular engineering at its absolute finest. But, a simple wall isn't enough. A city needs gates and doors and communication towers. And that's where the proteins come in. You see, the membrane isn't just a wall of fat. It's studded with a whole workforce of specialized proteins. And these proteins, they're not just cemented in place. The membrane is actually fluid, so they just kind of drift around within that phospholipid bilayer, like boats floating on an ocean. And this fluidity is absolutely crucial. It lets the cell repair itself, change its shape, and allows proteins to move where they're needed to get important jobs done. So what did these protein specialists actually do? Well, some of them form channels, kind of like tunnels, that let essential stuff like water and food flow through. Others act like highly specific doors that will only open for one particular molecule, like a key fitting into a lock. And then you have others that are receptors, which act like antennas, picking up signals from the outside world that tell the cell what to do. So this combination of the oily barrier and this protein workforce gives the membrane its most important property. It is selectively permeable. Honestly, you can just think of it like a bouncer at a nightclub. It lets some molecules in, it keeps others out, and it's checking the ID of pretty much everything that tries to cross the line. So why all this security? Why all this control? It all comes down to one absolutely critical goal: maintaining a perfect internal balance. There's a word for this. It's called homeostasis, and it's pretty much the foundation of life itself. Yeah, homeostasis is basically the cell's secret to survival. I mean, imagine trying to work in an office where the temperature and the noise levels are constantly swinging from one wild extreme to another. You couldn't get anything done, right? It's the exact same for a cell. By keeping its internal environment stable and constant, the cell creates the perfect conditions for everything to work right. And the cell membrane is the #1 tool for maintaining that homeostasis. It carefully manages the flow of traffic, making sure a steady supply of the good stuff, like oxygen and nutrients, gets in, while at the same time showing all the bad stuff, like carbon dioxide and waste products, the door. So how does it handle all this traffic? Well, there are a few ways.
Sometimes, molecules just kind of spread out on their own, moving from a crowded area to a less crowded one. That's called diffusion, and it's easy. It doesn't take any energy. But sometimes the cell needs to bring something in that's really rare outside. Well, that's like trying to push a boulder uphill. It takes a lot of energy, and this process is called active transport, and it's essential for keeping that perfect internal balance.
Now, this incredible membrane is a universal feature of all life, but it can exist in some slightly different neighborhoods. So let's just do a quick tale of two cells, animal versus plant, to see a really key difference in how they're built. Okay, so in animal cells, like ours, the membrane is the outer boundary. That's what makes them flexible, kind of like a little water balloon. It allows for movement. But plant cells? They have an extra layer of protection, a thick, really rigid cell wall. This wall gives the plant the structural support it needs to stand up tall against gravity. And the cell membrane is still there, it's just tucked right inside that wall, still doing all of its critical gatekeeping work.
Now, let's just bring this all back home for a second. This isn't just abstract biology. As you're listening to me right now, there are trillions of these tiny, intelligent gatekeepers working tirelessly inside your body. Each and every one is performing these complex jobs just to keep you alive and functioning.
So let's boil it all down. The cell membrane is a multi-talented marvel. Number one, it's a shield that protects the cell's delicate insides. Number two, it's a traffic cop, controlling everything that comes in and goes out. And number three, it's a communications hub, receiving signals from the outside world.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, if this one microscopic layer is so brilliantly designed and so complex, just imagine what other incredible wonders of engineering are happening right now, completely overlooked inside every single one of your cells.